I'm just happy to have two hands still. Welcome back to Japan, and welcome back to Kairyu Rider. So for this one, I wanted to just make a quick life update. So if you are following a lot of my videos, you know I moved to Tokyo about 2 months ago, and I got a job as a construction worker at a relatively good construction company. And I will say, as far as construction goes, I've got a lot of friends that have done construction in Australia, in Europe, and in the USA. So I'm sure a big portion of the things I'll say are not anti-Japan things. They're just, it's labor, it's construction, it's many co-workers didn't finish high school. So, you get what you get. But I no longer work at that job. And there are two reasons. The first is some surprise negatives at that job. And the second reason is I found my dream job. So let's, as any rational person, start with super negativity. At that job, it's construction, it's labor, you expect these things. You expect to have maybe a slightly sore back, you expect to work unbelievably hard, you expect to be in the best shape of your life. You don't expect to get your hand nearly cut off. You don't expect carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't expect flagrant disregard for important safety rules. So what I mean by that is, let's start with the safety thing. We are doing a lot of hole digging to lay water pipelines. So the guy training us had this big thing about the perfect angle to stick the shovel in to get the most soil and get the best lean angle to throw it as fast as possible. And it was all very impressive, things I didn't quite think of in the past. But he had his mind blown by me saying, hey guys, don't lift with your back, lift with your legs. He's like, why? It's like, well, does your back hurt? Yeah. Do you have to wear a back brace type thing? I was like, yeah. Well, that's because you're throwing everything with your back. Your legs are much stronger. And everyone tried it my way, and they couldn't believe how effective it was. So that's an interesting way they look at it. But then there's safety regulations, like you cannot use a jackhammer for more than 10 minutes because it can do serious damage. And that 10 minutes could stretch. Or don't use a metal grinder without safety glasses and hearing protection. And usually there was safety glasses there. They didn't have hearing protection. Like, yeah, but nobody uses it, so just go for it. And I was like, no, it's not okay. I like my hearing. And it got to the point where he would have me demonstrate things, because this is not bragging, but I was better at a lot of stuff than my coworkers. And it's just because they've never seen these tools in their lives, and I've used metal grinders all the time, like on the custom bikes I did back home. I'm a very DIY type of guy. I'm not saying I'm awesome, I'm just saying I'm more experienced. But he would have me demonstrate how to use the metal grinder or something and not give me the safety equipment, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And it was always an issue. And the next thing is, we would be using like a diesel-powered backhoe excavator, or a two-stroke generator, or a impact rammer or something, and we're inside a building, and they close all the windows because they don't want to offend the neighbors that chose to live next door to a construction company. We would keep using these things with no ventilation, and we'd all get these massive headaches, and I'd get woozy, and it'd be hard to see straight. Tunnel party, we're in a tunnel. Party in a tunnel. I had a pre-existing condition that they knew about that leads to pretty bad headaches, to the point where I had to have surgery, but I digress. That's another story for another time. But I would get headaches from the fumes so bad that I would have to step outside because I'm operating heavy machinery and I'm starting to get woozy and almost black out. out. And even ignoring my own selfish interest in healthy living, even for other people's sake, you don't want someone passing out while operating heavy machinery right next to them. And the other thing that really set it over the top, I'm just happy to have two hands still. Someone was using a giant steel cutting circular saw and they would just pull it away to check their work. Meanwhile, I'm holding the pipe they're working on and they would just swing it towards me to check their work. And they missed my arm by a few centimeters because I pulled it away. And then the women on my team who were watching both looked horrified. And the team leader, our trainer, would look at me like, keep holding it so you can keep cutting. And it's like, no, because he's going to keep cutting me. It just became the straw that broke the camel's back when I also was talking with my fellow recruits. And as a side note, it's required to have a license to work there. None of them do. I have the license and I have previous training for this type of work. So you would think I'm worth more, but turns out being foreign, I made a bit less. And I talked about applying to become management. That doesn't really exist. That's not an option I will ever see. And I'm not trying to say, oh, poor me, racism is whatever. But it was clearly prejudice because my trainer, he really liked me. And he actually took me aside and apologized. He said, we don't expressly say no to foreigners, but we have 3 Vietnamese guys that are easily the most qualified and intelligent people at this company. 8 years in, they have never gotten a promotion, and they never will. So, honestly, you gotta go forward thinking about that. I'm sorry, it's not fair, but unless management changes, and they're all pretty young, this is how it is. So, I decided it was time to look for a new job. Now, cut 2. I came to Japan because I love motorcycles. Let's not overanalyze why I tried my luck with Triumph. But I went to a couple custom shops and I found this one shop who, he said, I'm not hiring right now. I can't afford an extra person. But I know a guy who needs someone who can do what you do. And my specialty was always fiberglass. And I went to this shop, and it's a rather famous shop. I'm not going to say what it's called for what I assume are obvious reasons, but he's cool with the YouTube thing, just I don't need to advertise on there for the company or say I work there. So, fair enough. But I found a very well-known custom motorcycle shop, and I just kind of asked him, hey, are you hiring? And he said, I don't know. What can you do? And I showed him the picture of my previous bikes. He was like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. And then 2 days later, he called me and said, do you have a resume you can bring? Yeah, okay, come in tomorrow and we'll talk. And I came in and he said, hey, did you bring safety boots with you? And I just so happened to have the bag from my previous work. And he's like, yeah. He's like, great, can you start? And I was like, yeah, when? He's like, no, can you go change? Like, here's a uniform, we like you. It's like, what about an interview? I don't know, you speak Japanese pretty good. You seem to work pretty good. And we like to hire people and train people. So I got my dream job. And a month later, I'm already making parts that are going out to customers. I'm pretty happy with how things are working out there. And everyone's really nice, everyone's really friendly. It's really just wonderful. They all seem to like me quite a bit. And it's a small shop, so when I'm in the paint booth, I can hear them talking. And sometimes they're talking about me, and what do you think about the new guy? I don't know, he's pretty good, and no, I like him. He seems to learn fast. So, yeah, happy days. I am now a custom motorcycle builder in Tokyo, Japan. And that's kind of people's vision of coming to Asia or a new country, where you want to find an expert in some kind of craft. Be that craft blacksmithing or woodworking or anything. In my case, custom motorcycle building. And you want them to kind of say, you know what, we're not really interested in qualifications. We'll train you ourselves and we'll see what you're worth. And they just take you under their wing as their future prodigy. And I found that. And it's absolutely amazing. As far as my life's going with work, I'm starting out at part-time, so I'm getting about 25 hours a week. That'll slowly go up as I improve. I sometimes stay late to study certain things like welding. I didn't know how to weld before this. Now I do. And they do take care of us pretty good. Like, As I was talking about earlier, where I almost lost a hand to someone cutting it off at my previous job, I was taking a part out of a mold and the sharp-edged fiberglass stuck into my arm. But this job was like, whoa, let's take a minute, everyone stop, and we're gonna fix this. It's been 4 days. Last night I saw a little white thing sticking out. It was a piece of fiberglass still in it, so I kind of pulled it out last night. But now I'm feeling